anyway.
All right. Get ready to go live here. Okay, great. We're live. Ready to go live here.
Hello?
Okay, great. We're live. All right. Looks like it's just us three. I don't see anybody else in the chat.
Yep. It'll be like that the first couple times you go live.
Yeah. Well,
but it gets the information out, and
that's all right anyway. It's this good practice run, you know, because really it's just supposed to be a second reading today, but I figured it'd be a good chance to practice this, work all the bugs out, and you never know in case they do go to a vote, because like I said, you know, politics could be different the way they do stuff up there. But yeah, right now I tell you what, first it's hang on, let me. Which one? Yeah, over here. Can you guys hear that music?
I cannot. But that was due to be expected.
House will now come to order. Leading us in prayer today from the Fort Pierre Ministerial Association, Pastor Jake Cron, and the pages of the day. Leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance is Molly Brown from Sioux Falls and William Cutler from Claremont.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we gather together today to consider and discuss the many important issues before us, I ask that each and every one here would have a very real sense of your presence with them. Help them to remember that their service here is a sacred trust given to them, that they might stand for what is right, true, and good. I pray that you would grant each one today your wisdom, discernment, and divine guidance as they consider the issues and engage in debate. And as they carry the burdens of their responsibilities, I ask that you would pour out your blessing on their lives. Help them to find strength and courage in you. Give them the peace of God which passes all understanding to guard their hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And I pray that in the midst of all the challenges they face, you would fill them with your hope. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Aye.
Minimize this.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Anderson, Alward, Bartles, Barthel, Beal, Blair, Bardot, Chafee, Chase, Schwach, Davis, Dennert, Derby, Deutsch, Drury, Duba, Fink, Fitzgerald, Goodwin, Greenfield, Lana, Gross, Hanson, Haugard, Healy, Hoffman, Howard, Jameson, Jensen, Kevin, Jensen, Phil, Johnson, Chris, Carr, Kynes, Koth, Ladner, Lesmeister, Marty, May, Mills, Milstead, Skimmons, Mortensen, Mullally, Odenbach, Olson, Otten, Ernie, Overwig, Perry, Peterson, Kent, Peterson,
it's on
Sue,
SAPA Central.
Pischke, Poyer, Randolph, Reed, Rayfeld, Reimer, Schneider, Smith, Jamie, Soy, St. John, Stevens, Thomason, Tiedemann, Vasgard, Weiss, Wisegram, Weesey, Willitson, Wink, York, Speaker Gosh.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, there is a quorum.
We have a quorum. Attending remotely is Representative Ernie Otten. At this time, I'd like to ask the pages to please come up front.
All I got was the reminder set
and we
on,
will
so
administer the oath for the new group of pages. All right. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of page according to the best of my abilities. Congratulations. Go ahead and turn around and let's give them a round of applause. Representative Willitson. Approval of the journal.
Okay, guys,
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully
getting audio
reports
over on
that the
YouTube.
Chief Clerk of the House has had under consideration the House Journal of the 25th day. All errors, typographical or otherwise, are duly marked in the temporary journal for correction. And we hereby move the adoption of the report. Respectfully submitted, Spencer Gosch, Chair.
That motion having been made and seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Office of Engrossing and Enrolling has carefully compared House Bill 1097 and House Bill 1275 and finds the same correctly enrolled. Respectfully submitted, Spencer Gosch, Chair. The Committee on House Appropriations respectfully reports that House Bill 1038, 1137, 1306, and 1339 were amended and do pass. House Bill 1243 and 1244 were deferred to the 41st day. House Bill 1281 was tabled, and House Bill 1327 do pass. Chris Carr, Chair. The Committee on House Ag and Natural Resources respectfully reports that House Bill 1156 do pass and place on consent calendar. House Bill 1162 was amended, do pass and placed on consent calendar. House Bill 1316 and 1321 were tabled. Marty Overweg, Chair. The Committee on House Local Government respectfully reports that House Bill 1317 was tabled. Nancy York, Chair. The Committee on House Health and Human Services respectfully reports that House Bill 1228 do pass. House Bill 1242 was deferred to the 41st day. House Bill 1318 was amended and do pass. Kevin Jensen, Chair. The Committee on House Transportation respectfully reports that Senate Bill 176 was amended, do pass, and placed on the consent calendar. Caleb Fink, Chair. The Committee on House Taxation respectfully reports that House Bill 1178 was amended and do pass. House Bill 1224 was deferred to the 41st day. Drew Dennert, Chair.
Messages from the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to return herewith House Bill 1097 and 1275, which have passed the Senate without change. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to transmit herewith Senate Bill 142, 143, 167, 169, and 187, which have passed the Senate and your favorable consideration is respectfully requested. Respectfully, Kay Johnson, Secretary. The Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Office of Engrossing and Enrolling has carefully compared House Concurrent Resolution 6001 and House Concurrent Resolution 6003 and finds the same correctly enrolled. Respectfully submitted, Spencer R. Gosch, Chair.
Speaker signs House Concurrent Resolution 6003, declaring April 26th to be Shared Parenting Day. The Speaker signs House Concurrent Resolution 6001, opining that the star quilt should be recognized as the official quilt of this state. The Speaker signs House Bill 1097, an act to clarify conduct that is not required related to medical cannabis. And the Speaker signs House Bill 1275, an act to clarify signature requirements on petitions regarding the change of form of government in municipalities. Motions and resolutions.
Representative Kent Peterson moved that we adjourn, but that when we adjourn today, we adjourn to convene at 12 noon on Wednesday, February 23rd, the 27th legislative day.
That motion having been made seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Is that it?
Representative Kent Peterson moved that House Bill 1215 be referred to from the Committee on Joint Appropriations to the Committee on House Appropriations.
That motion having been made seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Representative Kent Peterson moved that House Bill 1322 be deferred to Wednesday, February 23rd, the 27th legislative day.
That motion having been made seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
House Concurrent Resolution 6006, Representative Elward moved that House Concurrent Resolution 6006, as found on page 257 of the House Journal, be adopted.
That motion having been made and seconded, is there any discussion on the motion, Representative Elward? Try it now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the State House. What you have before you, HCR 6006. Last year, I brought a bill that was called Defend the Guard. And the goal of the bill was to tell the U.S. Congress that they needed to follow their oath to the U.S. Constitution and actually take a vote to declare war if they wanted to use the South Dakota National Guard soldiers. That bill was carried in over 30 states last year, and even more this year. And I pray that it gains more traction as the years come along. This year, after talking to the South Dakota Adjutant General, I've decided to take a little different route and promote a resolution instead. And instead of focusing solely on the National Guard of the state here, I figured why not focus on the whole military. The resolution you have before you simply asks the elected people in the federal government to follow their oath to the Constitution when pursuing war, to consult the just war theory when contemplating any foreign intervention, and to bring troops home who are still in conflict overseas with no end date in sight. I see this issue being constitutional, pro-life, economic, and pro-family. As you can see pointed out in the resolution, the United States hasn't constitutionally declared war since World War II. Post 9/11 wars alone have carried a heavy price, including more than 7,000 service members lost in war operations, over 30,000 service members and veteran suicides, over 53,000 wounded, an estimated 1.1 million veterans who have deployed service-connected disabilities, and over $8 trillion spent. And based on 2021 polling, 68% of American veterans supported bringing our troops home from Afghanistan, and over 50% of veterans and the general population think we should be less militarily engaged around the world. That's the reason for this resolution. This resolution is filled with some great quotes from the founding generation, but I'll leave you with this one from the great General George Washington, whose birthday was yesterday. Overgrown military establishments are, under any form of government, inauspicious to liberty and are to be regarded as particularly hostile to Republican liberty. I often wonder what he would think today. Please vote green on the resolution today. Thank you.
Further remarks regarding HCR 6006? Further remarks? Representative Marty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd stand and encourage you to vote for this resolution, because we've had a lot of undeclared wars, and I've seen what has happened to our undeclared wars, our conflicts that we send our young men and women into. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I've experienced some of the horrors of war, not as bad as a lot of my fellow infantrymen. But the first day on the job in Vietnam, I picked up body parts of two guys that I did not know. And I wear these dog tags today in all session to honor those two guys that I never knew. I held a part of a rib on my bayonet as we were picking up the body parts. And they didn't have a chance to have a family. They didn't have a chance to have the young people have sons and daughters. So I just encourage us to vote green on this, and I thank you for listening. Thanks.
Thank you. Further remarks? Representative Goodwin.
Yeah, to back up our last Vietnam veteran who was a Purple Heart winner. Purple Heart means you had to be wounded in combat. It wasn't something to take lightly, and being an infantryman like the good representative just talked about. I guess the last time we declared war was in World War II, and that war we went and won. I don't know if we've won any since. Been all conflicts, police actions. And so this is just saying that if they're going to send our treasure of our young men and women off to combat, that they should declare war first, and we should be all in to end it as soon as possible. So I concur with this.
Further remarks? Hearing no further remarks, the question for the body is Representative Aylward's motion that HCR 6006 be adopted. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk, please unlock the voting machine. Will the members proceed to vote? Representative Duba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it's only appropriate right now that we recognize right above the clock our American Legion and American Legion Auxiliary. So please stand. I want to tell a little bit about all of you. Commander Gary Wokow and from the American Legion, and our Legion Auxiliary President Mary Jo Stile are both here, as well as our Boys State Governor Joseph Giebel from Mitchell, South Dakota. He was actually a page, I believe, in the Senate 2 weeks ago. And then our Girl State Governor from my own District 15, Auburn Brenner. And we want to welcome all of you. Please stand, everyone. Let's give them a round of applause.
Welcome. Gosh votes aye.
Gosh votes aye.
Representative Gross.
Personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. Fellow members of the House, please join me in welcoming young people and some of their leaders from the Country View Christian School just out of Flanders, not too far from me. They're a private Christian school associated with the Mennonite Church. They only get to appear once every 3 years. So please welcome them, make it a special visit for them.
Welcome.
Representative Fitzgerald. Representative Ernie Otten.
No.
Otten votes no.
Dude voted no.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 65, nays 2, excused 3.
So the motion having received an affirmative vote of the majority of the members elect, the Speaker declares the motion carried in HCR 6006 as adopted.
Well, our boy got his first bill passed. Let's see what happens with 1052.
Representative Stevens moved that the House do now
It still bothers me
reconsider
they
the
only did a
vote by which
resolution
House
on
Bill
that.
1278 lost.
Representative Stevens' motion to reconsider 1278 having been seconded is now up for discussion on the reconsideration. Representative Stevens.
Thank you.
I'd ask
Voted
you
against
to
it
stand to
are,
reconsider this bill. There's
despotic
been some
tyrants.
additional work and discussions over this past weekend that I think it'd be important for us to discuss as we look at this bill.
Yeah, here's where we're at right
Thank you.
now.
Further remarks? Representative Pischke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm also going to concur with the good representative from Yankton that we did do some work on this issue. There's an amendment on a bill that I'm passionate about over on the other side, and he's agreed that we're going to amend that bill. And so I'm also going to ask the body to please vote for this reconsideration, and then we're going to please vote for the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for the remarks. Representative Stevens' motion to reconsider. Hearing no further remarks, it does take a majority of the members elect. This will be a roll call vote. All those in favor of Representative Stevens' motion to reconsider will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk, please unlock the voting machine. Would the members proceed to vote? Representative Wink.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a group up here standing behind me now, if I could have personal privilege, I guess. Yeah. That I should know the rules, shouldn't I? These rural electric cooperatives are here today. There's 31 different cooperatives, and they're in every county in the state. They actually not only blessed us with their presence, but they also provided the food down in the rotunda today. So please help me welcome the rural electric cooperatives of South Dakota.
Welcome.
Gosh votes aye. Representative Hansen votes aye. Representative Poyer. Representative Ernie Otten.
Aye.
Otten votes aye. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 63, nays 4, excused 3.
Representative Stevens' motion to reconsider 1278, having received an affirmative vote, the members elect is hereby declared passed, and we will take up the reconsideration immediately. Representative Stevens.
Well, thank you very much
So
for your
that
willingness
last
to
bill had to do
consider
with
this. You know,
the federal government declaring war. So what was it that the state was wanting to do with that?
Guidelines every 4 years. A lot of input was taken. You know, good bills, I think, was when you have discussion, and we certainly had good discussion during our process. We
It's
met
a resolution. It's
several
milk
different
toast. It
times.
really
We took
carries no
public
weight,
input,
but it was
and, as a
saying
result
that
of
the
our
federal
discussion
government
last
shouldn't,
week and the
you
issues
know,
that
be
were
sending
brought up,
troops out
good
without
representative,
declaring
I think,
war
came
and
to a
whatnot,
really
which
good
is obvious.
compromise
They
in
already
this
know
matter,
that.
and I
They
think
just
it's a
choose to
good
do it
bill, and I'd ask
regardless.
for your support.
Right.
Further remarks regarding
So
House
instead of
Bill
doing it
1278.
defend the guard, which just blocks the federal
Thank you, Mr.
government
Speaker.
from using
And I too
the
want
National
to
Guard
commend the statesmen
of
from
that
Yankton
state.
County
They instead
on
just
the
did an
compromise we made here.
overall
And I also want to
resolution
thank the body
telling
for
the
the
federal
debate. It was a
government they
good
should
debate,
do
a
it
good
this
spirited
way,
debate, and we had a lot of
milquetoast.
conversation about the child support
Idea's
system.
great.
Doesn't
Just
carry
to
anyway.
highlight a couple things that we've talked
Right.
about.
Yeah.
So, but
We have an agreement that we will
but doesn't
pass this bill, and
the
we will
president
amend
have
House
command
Bill
over the National Guard
1279 over
anyway?
in the Senate side, so that's part of
No.
the agreement there.
So the
And
governor
then
of each state
we
has
both-
control over their own
We both
National
agree that
Guard.
we should probably have a summer study so we could
Yes.
take a deeper dive into some
And
of
they
these
can
bills and
deny
some of these
the federal
laws,
government the
and
use
how the whole system works
of
as a
them.
whole. So I would support. I ask the body to support this bill now, and also support the compromise that we've all come to. So, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for the remarks regarding House Bill 1278.
I want to put it in
Hearing no
old
further
world
remarks, question for the body's final
perspective. You have
passage
what's
of
known
House
as the
Bill
difference between
1278.
a regular
All those in
and
favor vote
irregular
aye. Those opposed,
militia.
nay. Madam Clerk, please unlock the voting machine and the members proceed to vote.
Ah, damn.
Representative Willardson.
Thank you,
getting
Mr.
that.
Speaker. Personal privilege.
Granted.
Well,
Hang on a
today,
sec.
right above me over here, I think, I have my best friend and my wife of 45 years, and her sister, who was born in South Dakota, moved to Missouri, but has never been to the Capitol until today. So please help me welcome my wife, Suzanne, and her sister, Becky.
Welcome.
So Casey,
And
they
Mr.
have
Speaker?
a
Yes.
Republican majority, right?
If I might,
It's only about 10
part of the
Democrats
reason that they're
in the
here
entire House.
is this is a proud grandparents moment.
Yeah, it's Senate's
My two oldest grandchildren
So they're
are here as
structured
pages
kind of
today
a lot
and have
like
been
us then.
installed.
Yeah.
So Molly and Grace, please stand up. Okay, we have Grace Glover and Molly Brown. They're both seniors at Roosevelt High School. They're both 4.0 students. We're really, really proud of them,
Well,
and we're
hopefully
glad
they
to
don't
have
have
them
as
here
many
for these
rhinos
2
as
weeks. So
we appear
please
to
help
have
me
now.
welcome them as well.
Welcome.
Well, I think that's what we might run into once the bill gets in the Senate, provided passes the House.
Representative Chafee, Representative Poyer, Representative Ernie Otten.
Aye.
Otten votes aye. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 59, nays 8, excused 3.
House Bill 1278, having received an affirmative vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Are there any questions on the title? Hearing none, the title is deemed correct.
Representative Blair moved that the Committee on House Appropriations be instructed to deliver House Bill 1281 to the floor of the House pursuant to Joint Rule 7-7.
That motion having been made and seconded, discussion on your motion, Representative Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So how many other
no
states
ill will
were trying to
toward
get
the
SAPA when there were
committee.
like 3 other
Bill
ones?
was brought through on
right
Friday,
now you got
and
Iowa,
committee started at
Wyoming,
8 o'clock. They were
Pennsylvania,
working clear through noon. They
possibly
had a lot of
Minnesota.
bills and a lot of things to work through.
And then-
Part of the problem that we
and then, of
had
course,
was
the
when
South Dakota
BFM
one
was
here,
there
right?
because of
Yes.
all that was happening.
Yeah.
When discussion was brought up to ask about part of their question that they had, the person was a substitute for a substitute who gave a wrong answer that directly affected the outcome of the bill.
Did they do
came
anything
back
on
and
that today, Casey?
apologized, said they were not trying to create confusion amongst the committee. The other thing was
did they do
because
anything at
of
2
we're
o'clock
trying to
today?
get it all through. There was never
2
a
o'clock is
chance
when the
for
session started today.
rebuttal from
They're
us.
still trying to find
and
exactly when they
because
pull
a
it
third
up.
of the membership was gone,
If it's
we
anything
asked
like
that this
Missouri,
be
they'll
reconsidered on the
dick
floor.
around
Thank you,
most
Mr.
of the day
Speaker.
until it's
Thank you for the
like-
remarks regarding the
Yeah,
motion to
so
smoke
far,
out.
Aylward had his
Remarks.
his
Hearing none, it does
resolution
require
6006.
Representative Blair's
That
motion
got
to smoke out
passed.
1281
And,
to be supported
got
by
House Bill
1/3 of the
1278.
members elect.
They just
That
took a
requires
vote on.
24. I would ask if you support
So
Representative
now,
Blair's motion,
got a
please
bunch of other
stand
stuff.
now.
And supposedly 1052 is just going to be a reading. We'll see.
Gotcha.
All right, what happened?
He is supported.
Oh, there we go. But I
Yeah, a minute ago I was going to.
Go ahead.
Oh, I
man.
was going to. A minute ago I was going to point out because they were talking about 6006, and that's basically what they were doing is trying to tell the
Consideration of
federal
reports of
government that they
committees.
shouldn't. Be using
Representative
the
Kemp
the
Peterson
troops
moved
whenever
that the
there's no
reports of the
officially declared
standing
war, which they're going
committees
to do anyway.
on Health
but,
and Human Services
I was going to make
House
a point
Bill 1133 is found on page
Scott here
359.
that,
On House Bill 1134
that,
is
you know,
found
if you
on
kind of
page
compare the difference
360.
between
On House Bill
the
1161
regular militia
is
and the
found
irregular
on page
militia, that would be like
364.
the
And
National
on
Guard
House Bill
versus the people,
1223 is found on page
armed
366
population.
of the House Journal. Also Judiciary on House Bill
just snuck in
1232
here?
and
I don't know this guy.
1233 as found on page
Well, there you
381
go.
of the
Talk
House
them.
Journal.
Don't let 'em in.
Also
Block
Military
'em.
and Veterans
Right.
Affairs.
Hey, how's it
on
go? How's
House
the
Bill
hearing going, gang?
1273 is found on page
they haven't brought out- they
357
haven't
of
brought
the
up
House
the
Journal.
SAPA bill
Also
yet,
House
but the
Appropriations on House Bill
who,
1051
sponsors that
as
bill, he
found
got one
on
of his
page
House
357 of the House Journal. Also,
Okay.
Ag and
They-
Natural Resources on Senate Bill 184
So we don't-
as found on page
supposed to be just a reading,
358
so we'll
of the
see.
House Journal be adopted.
That's at the wrong side.
That motion having been made and seconded, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. First reading of Senate bills.
Senate Bill 142, establish provisions for medical services. Senate Bill 143, establish provisions related to education.
On
Senate
the
Bill
YouTube side, I
167,
did check
clarify
in
the
real quick
certification
before I came
process
into
for
Discord,
teachers and
and
school
you got to remember
administrators.
to mute
Senate
the
Bill
hearings when you want to
169,
talk, Casey,
establish a means
because
for
they're about the
certain
same
Department of
volume, and it's
Corrections
really
inmates
tough. It's
to
just
earn
getting garbled
credit
at that
against
point.
fines or costs ordered by the sentencing court. Senate Bill 187 requires state agencies to provide certain information for initiated measure or constitutional amendment fiscal notes.
Back in there ain't gonna work.
The Speaker assigns to House Appropriations Senate Bill 64, 52, and 67. To Commerce and Energy, Senate Bill 188. To Education, 167. To Judiciary, Senate Bill 169. To State Affairs, Senate Bills 187, 143, 142. And to Military and Veterans Affairs, Senate Bill 196.
South Dakota, get SAPA done.
Second reading of consent calendar items.
Senate Bill 190, revised provisions regarding municipal zoning
For a second, I
of
thought they was
medical
going to
cannabis
adjourn it until, what
establishments.
was it,
Consent
tomorrow?
calendar items are items
But
that
I
are made
guess they
out
were
of committee
talking
with
about,
no dissenting votes or
talking about
opposition
something
testimony.
else,
They are not
another
debatable.
bill or
Questions can be
something.
asked. Are there any questions at this time? Hearing none, the question for the body is final passage of the consent calendar items. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk, please unlock the voting
Hey,
machine.
Scott, you're on Facebook, aren't you?
I am.
Do you want to be a mod in our Facebook group?
Representative Vascard.
Sure.
Personal privilege.
Granted.
Okay, I can't do it right now, but next time I'm home and I think about it, I'll go ahead and set you up then.
And it was her birthday, but she had some meetings to do at home. And this coming June, we'll get to celebrate 50 years of traveling life's journey together, and I couldn't do it without.
Yeah, it's really kind of hit or miss.
Congratulations.
I don't know. I mean, everybody knows how Facebook is, so it's kind of hit or miss on.
Honest to God,
Aye.
I'm thinking about making an announcement, that we're all I'm moving over to Travis's. If Facebook just sucks right now. I mean, I just went on it a little while ago, and it's first time I've been on Facebook and actually looked around in probably about a month. And we got 12 infractions from Facebook for posting quote-unquote partially incorrect information according to independent fact checkers. And they have locked us down so tight.
Any questions on the title?
No one can see us.
The title is deemed correct.
And I'm debating on whether or not even that content is coming through on people's pages anymore that are subscribed.
Okay, guys, it's coming up.
Okay.
House Bill 1222, an act to provide property tax relief for family daycare homes.
House Bill 1222, having had its second reading, is now for consideration and final passage. Representative Schwalk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, everybody. I come for you today, ask for your support of House Bill 1222 to provide a real estate tax break for existing and new registered daycare providers in our communities. The purpose of this bill is to stabilize and expand the foundation of our economy, in-home daycare. Now, I know the Department of Revenue has been working you hard against this bill, claiming all sorts of logistical issues. But I ask this body not to be like blind mice, but to think critically. And
all right, guys, if they actually vote on this, they might vote on 1052 also. So let's see what happens with this.
Let us know, because on Discord side, we can't hear a thing.
I look forward to that debate about the practicality of this. But first, let's talk about why we just absolutely need to do all we can to expand child care in South Dakota.
Okay.
House Bill 1222 incentivizes a young
Caleb,
mother
can we do
and a
Discord
retired worker to
and
consider
the live
offering
stream at the same
childcare in
time
their home
on
again.
our phones?
For the last 20 plus years, we've been moving away from in-home daycare, and the result has been a lack of childcare and unaffordable
on Discord at the same time. And I pulled up my Gas Buddy app too.
This bill is an effort to return to a society one that I grew up in, where child care was
You
largely
with your
delivered
smartphones and your hula hoops and your Dan Fogelberg
I've heard
records.
from some of you wondering why I moved this bill to be calendared from last week to this Tuesday. And here's the truth. After the bill passed in committee, some child care and early learning advocates wanted to come here and lobby you. And Tuesday was the best day for that. And I wanted them to have that time. But as you know, you've all been lobbied very hard by the Department of Revenue. You haven't been lobbied very much by any child care advocates. Anyone want to take a guess as to why? Her child care fell through. She wasn't able to make it for the very issue we're trying to solve here. And we have a huge problem. Since March 2020, 153 registered daycares have closed. South Dakotans have 73,000 children under the age of 6, but only 34,500 available child care slots. 43% of our residents live in a child care desert, meaning a census tract with 50 or more children under the age of 5 that either have no child care providers or they have 3 children for 1 spot. The child care we do have in South Dakota is not affordable. According to a 2020 report from the Economic Policy Institute, child care is one of the biggest expenses that families face. The report showed that the average cost of infant care, of infant care in South Dakota was $543 per month, dropping to $529 per month for a 4-year-old child. Child care was already unaffordable for most families in South Dakota at the time of that report, it concluded. It's also harming our economy. In my community, the two things holding economic growth back are lack of housing and lack of child care. It's hard to start a business when you and your employers do not have anyone to babysit your kids. According to a Ready Nation study, the lack of affordable child care for working parents, employers, and taxpayers has an annual cost of $146 million in South Dakota. It hurts workers' productivity, and it hurts our housing market, believe it or not. One study found that the lack of available child care investment in the state affects housing prices by $13 for every $1 that's not invested. So you might be asking, why focus on incentivizing in-home daycare? Honest to God's truth, it's cheap. We need a lot of daycare, and we need it now.
Okay, so you guys can't hear the hearings going on inside of the chat, or I mean what the hell you call this? Discord. But you can hear it on the live stream, right? On YouTube. Fuck, everybody left. All right.
The problem. No government handouts, no big spending program. HB 1222 provides a tax break to child care providers. And that's the whole idea of supply side economics, right? And we have a supply side problem in South Dakota. It's not demand based. Instead of big dollars going out with nominal restrictions or providing grants for new facilities that will be operational in several years in the best case scenario, House Bill 1222 kickstarts and provides an incentive to encourage individuals on their own, without government, to start and continue to provide in-home daycare facilities. This bill would provide a 2% tax valuation reduction for each child up to a 20% total to a registered in-home daycare provider. That's capped at only 3 years. It's not forever. The reason I'm proposing property tax reduction is because tax reduction is a good way to incentivize growth. And giving our low regulation, low tax structure in South Dakota, it's about the only way we can do it. I also think in this case it's the best way. I'll stand by for any questions you may have, but I strongly encourage your support of House Bill 1222. Thank you.
For the remarks, Representative Odenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question for the prime sponsor.
State your question.
Just wondering if you could answer, thank you, Mr. Speaker, just wondering if you could answer or have an estimate of how many places this will impact and how much the tax savings in total may be, say, next year or the first year that it's implemented.
Representative Schwach, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you for the question, Representative from Lawrence County. So I don't have data for every county in every corner of the state, but I did have Legislative Research Council work up some figures to kind of see what this would look like, what type of impact it would have. And so in Pennington County, assuming that value of your house was $180,000, and I just picked $180,000 because I figured that's probably on the low end of stuff, but low end of a value of a house. But if you had a $180,000 house and you were going to enter into this program, if you had 4 kids, the property tax reduction would be $208 a year. If you did the full 10 to 12, it would be $521. Obviously, if your house is worth more than that, you're going to get more of a deduction. In Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls, using those same parameters, we estimated it was $227 at the low end of number of kids raised and $568 at the top. For some reason in Lennox, it was $379 and $947 on the top. I picked out those numbers, and in terms of who it'll impact and who it will help, you know, it's going to be eligible across the entire state. So what you have to figure that out in your own district, you just figure out your mill levy, find out the value of the property involved, reduce it by 20%, and that difference is where the tax savings is.
Representative Odenbach, anything further?
Just a comment, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it sounds like perhaps maybe the total value hasn't been determined yet, but I just was thinking as I was listening to the good representative from Yankton County that it's likely that perhaps it'll be more than $12,000 next year, which was the total savings that Kelloland News estimated we'll get from the bingo tax. So I commend the good representative. It took a Democrat to show how we can incentivize something with a tax cut instead of a brand new program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative York.
Question for the prime sponsor, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just wondering, are these the same houses that daycare providers are already applying for as a deduction on their federal income tax?
Representative Schwach, would you like to answer that question?
I would. Yes. So, they are, it's their own residential homes. So their property taxes under the federal, state, and local tax deduction, which is capped at $10,000, it is that same. So there is like a net trade-off there in full disclosure. Your taxes will go, your income tax, or the amount of deduction, I should say, that you're able to take will increase slightly, but it's going to be very, very small. It's not going to cause you to shift into any sort of different tax rate at the federal level or anything like that.
Representative York, anything further?
Just a brief comment. I certainly want to do something for the daycare centers. I know it's something that we really need in South Dakota. I'm not sure that this is it. I have not heard from daycare providers that with a big yay for this bill. I actually heard from two. One was just inquiring how much her taxes, how much she'd save on her taxes, which I certainly did not know. And the other one was like she didn't think that was something that was going to help them that much. So I think I'm going to be opposed to this bill just for the fact that I would hate to see somebody go into it just because they're going to save $300 or $400 a year on their taxes. And at the same time, I do know we need to do something for the daycare providers. So I appreciate you bringing this bill, but I don't think it's quite the one I can vote for. Thank you.
Representative Ladner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the prime sponsor?
State your question.
So daycare centers are going to save, say, 20% on their taxes. Where is that tax shift going to be absorbed?
Representative Schwach, would you like to answer that question?
Sure, Mr. Speaker, Representative. It's going to be shared across the entire county. And one of the things I would just point out for all your consideration is when you talk about tax shifts, we're not growing as fast as we could in South Dakota because we don't have child care. I don't think there's going to be a huge tax shift because I think this is going to lead to a lot of economic growth.
Representative Ladner, anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Leader. So if money is taken out of one pot, it has to be distributed across a playing field. If one is lessened, another has to be increased. So I am going to make the assumption that this would be spread out across all other property owners, business owners, farms, ranches.
I can't hear you, Caleb.
Is that true?
Representative Schwach,
I
would you like to
can't
answer that question?
do this whole thing while I'm driving and
Representative, not across the entire state, so it'll be within each county. So if a county doesn't have a lot of applicants, there won't be,
They always have to get to figure out the tax.
Daycare provider in Custer couldn't cause my taxes to go up in Yankton County, for example.
I don't know if you can hear
there
what's
is a
going on
shift.
the
It's a
YouTube
policy
side,
choice.
No, I had to turn it off.
Choice. I'm not gonna
because I couldn't
be cute about it.
figure it out, and I was way behind. I was way delayed. I was about 5 minutes behind.
Daycare in South Dakota.
I was hearing myself, from what I was saying 5 minutes ago, and I was trying to fiddle with it to get it to refresh and everything. Then it went to a different video, and I was trying to get back to the other video, and then I couldn't hear you guys on Discord anymore, and I was like, I give up.
No, I mean it equals.
I can't do this stuff while I'm driving.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the remarks, Representative
No
Fitzgerald.
biggie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A question for the main prime sponsor.
State your question.
Have you
Get Casey
discussed
back.
this bill with treasurers, county directors of equalization. I've heard from my treasurer, and she is urging me to vote no.
Representative Schwak, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question, Representative. So when I drafted this bill, I drafted it with LRC, and I don't pretend like the good representative from back there to know anything about property taxes to start out. One of the things, I know you've gotten a lot of emails from them about exactly how they will do this, and so let me explain the framework of how the bill is supposed to work. You know, this is, I felt like I was in trouble whether.
Yep.
I take it we're still on 1222. So I'm talking about
we're on basically property taxes and daycare systems and whatnot.
Yeah, that would be this one right here, HB 1052. Looks like it's should be coming up next if they're going down this calendar. Can you guys see the calendar on YouTube?
Yeah, I can see it's up on YouTube.
All right. Yeah, and all right, cool. I'm gonna turn the audio back on. Now you guys can't hear. You can't hear the House session. You can't hear the audio on Discord, right? But you can hear it on YouTube.
Not through Discord. It's coming through YouTube, and I actually have my the YouTube in a picture-in-picture window just so I hear a little bit of it in the background.
All right. Okay, we'll put the audio back on now.
All right.
Which might make more sense. The county treasurer's was really just an LRC decision, and I defer to their expertise on using county treasurers as the appropriate person.
Representative Fitzgerald, anything further?
Just one further question. So I know it's really difficult to be a registered daycare provider, and a lot of in-home people don't want to be registered. So I guess I just question how effective this bill really will be. Thank you for your time.
Representative Schwak, would you like to answer that question?
No, thanks, Your Honor. Sorry, I had a hearing this morning, Your Honor, the great honorable speaker.
Representative Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I would urge you to resist this bill. I believe it's the wrong policy choice. You know, the speaker mentioned that we have, I think he said we have 73,000 kids under 5 and 34,000 child care slots. Well, I seriously hope that we never get to the point in this state where we need a child care slot for every child under 5. The policy choices that we should be making are choices that encourage the parents, one of the parents, to stay home if at all possible. I mean, science, I don't want to get into a debate over what's better, child care versus parents at home, but I think history
it's more a matter of what you can
and
afford.
Science, I mean, there's been studies that show it's usually better to have one of the parents staying at home. But you know, my mom was a single mom raising 2 girls on her own, divorced when I was 2, so she needed childcare. But she relied on my grandma, she relied on friends. So we will, hopefully, we would never, ever need a childcare slot for every child under 5 in this state. According to the numbers that he used, we have half right now. I think that's probably good. But the bigger picture is we should be looking at the policy and where is government driving? How is government influencing families to make choices that maybe they would make other choices if government wasn't involved? So I think we need to think about that. But the other thing that the Prime mentioned, he said that this was the foundation of our economy. Well, I would differ on that. I would say, you know, in our state, the foundation of our economy is the ag industry. And we heard a bill earlier that was talking about how our ag producers are being crushed by the property taxes. So this is a shift in taxes. Someone will have to pick up the extra burden of the property taxes when we give one tiny subset of a group of individuals a property tax break. Someone has to pick that up. And what about all the other small business owners out there? What about, I mean, how many home-based businesses are there across our state? We have so many small home-based businesses. They could all use a property tax break. We could all use a property tax break. So I would urge you to resist this. If we're going to do property tax relief, let's look at the big picture and let's provide it for everyone, not just for a tiny tiny, tiny group of individuals here. Thank you.
Representative Mortensen.
Thank you, members of the body. I'm going to ask you to resist this as well. My kids are both in at-home daycare right now. My bigger concern, though, is that this is about the fifth, I don't know if it's a loophole, I don't know if it's an exception, I don't know what it is, but the key to our taxes remaining low rate is that we not make special carve-outs one after another, because every single time it's a sympathetic case, every single time it's a group that we like. But at some point, the dollars are going to get passed on to the other taxpayers.
I like that statement.
And if we want to keep our property tax looking like a system that makes sense and that is fair across the industries, we shouldn't be changing it one at a time. I sometimes liken it to a block of Jenga squares. You just don't know which one you're going to pull out and it's going to tip over. If we're going to change the property tax system in a way that makes sense, let's try to.
Well, you know what? They're outright debating this thing right now. They might actually vote on their second reading might be where they vote. That'd be awesome. I want this. I want this thing voted on today. All right, I'll put the audio back on.
Oh, this is still covering property tax stuff right now.
Grandpa right near.
What's that?
This is still covering property tax stuff right now.
Yeah, I know,
with the,
but what I'm saying is they're actually debating it back and forth. The second reading might be where they go ahead and go for a vote. We'll see.
Yeah.
If they do, then maybe they'll be voting on 1052 today. Because usually just reading, they'll read it, unless the sponsor wants to add something. But they're going back and forth on it, so who knows? All right, I'll put the audio back on.
We need help with childcare. This is just a little move here to try to incentivize some folks to be in the childcare business. We do it all the time for big business. We give them all kinds of incentives. What about that little operator here that could help us in our economy? And then it's a tax. This is a tax cut, you guys. You really going to vote against a tax cut? I see all you guys out there that always, vote against any kind of spending that we do. Now we're going to vote against a tax cut. And as far as the shift, I think we voted on a big shift within the counties for some certain people about a week ago. And I want to know this city slicker over here voted for that. Okay? Yeah, there's a shift. It's not a very big one. It's a whole lot smaller than the shift we did the other day. It's a good bill. Vote green.
Representative Schneider.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've got good debate going here, and I know we've got a lot of work to get through yet this afternoon. I appreciate that, so I'll try to keep this short, but I think there's been good points made on both sides. I tend to lean toward probably not supporting it, but I really think we need some more assistance of some kind to help child care, so I commend the representative for bringing the bill. Maybe this will help spur some better ideas shortly down the road. But it reminded me, in my case, we had the luxury in our household to have what I'll call myself and my spouse a solid traditional parent family. Our three sons are long grown up, but I remember the daycares that we had to go to in Huron, and we were lucky to have very good quality care there. But I want to give you a little true story.
My next destination,
so
I got to go for a little while now.
All right. So one day,
take it easy, man.
My wife
I'll be back when I'm done.
Our three
you
sons,
bet. I'll be back when I'm done.
And Mary Moss was the leader, and she said, I got to tell you, there was another woman with her children came to pick them up and said, Mary, I want to know who is here you have in your daycare as a kid that's named No John. And Mary said, what are you talking about? Well, that's what my little boy thinks that this No John, his name is No John. And finally Mary figured out that No John was a kid that they were saying no to all day long because he was always getting into something he shouldn't. Well, that was my son John. And he turned out to be very, very successful and great family. And even he's old enough now that his three kids are already through daycare. So daycare really is critical. I mean, in some ways, it's too bad our society has gotten to that where we have so many needs of both parents to work and not just one job, like was mentioned, or more. So I commend you for bringing the bill. I still won't know until I have to push green or red what I'm going to do.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully defer the balance of my time to the bill's prime sponsor.
Representative Schwach, would you like to close us out?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for a great debate. I'll be real brief. I am planning to speak on every other bill, too, so get real comfortable. I just want to address a couple of the arguments that were kind of made in some of the opposition and really encourage you when you're thinking about wavering between red and green, the vote green. First, the real property tax argument that we are picking a winner over a loser, and there are a lot of sympathetic people that we could pass tax breaks to. You know, that's true to a certain extent. We do that. We did do that last week with the grassland bill. And in the grassland bill, do you know what you have to do to get that tax break? Is you go to the director of equalization under the bill, and you just have to say that the property's been owned for 20 years and it's been native grassland and it hasn't been, and then the county has to investigate for you to get that tax break. You know, this idea is something that we voted on for other people who have benefited from it. And I would contend that this is something that we really need to do because the economic impact, I know you hear it from your economic development people that daycare is holding everybody back in town. We need to incentivize it, and we need to do it now. You know, the other proposals that we're looking at, you know, where we're talking about grants to build new facilities, best case scenario, that's a couple years away. You got to get the rules in place, you got to get the land, you got to get the projects all put together. In-home daycare, it's right there right now. These people can do it. In closing, I'll just share 3 stories I heard here towards the end. South Dakota has more 2-income families than any other state in the country. That's why daycare is so urgent here. I grew up in a family. I grew up on a farm. I followed my dad everywhere. When I couldn't follow him, I got sent over to grandma's house. It was great. She was a quarter mile. Sometimes I would just walk there. That is a great way to raise a family. Unfortunately, because of our economy, it's not the way that a lot of people can afford to raise a family in South Dakota. I'd love to fix that problem, but until we fix that problem, let's at least provide them affordable daycare. Since this bill came out of committee, I heard from one daycare provider in Sioux Falls that said this would be a huge benefit to her, that it would help with her business. I heard from a friend who goes to whose kids go to in-home daycare, and their person has to raise rates because when they actually sat down and figured it out, they were only making $3 a day providing childcare. We need to do more. This economy is not working, and this is a great way to do it. Please vote green. We can work through the issues as the bill works through the process. Thanks.
Question for the body's final passage of House Bill 1222. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed nay. Madam Clerk, please unlock the voting machine. Will the members proceed to vote?
Guys, it's going for a vote. That means 1052 is going to go for a vote, probably.
Representative Ladner, Representative Ernie Otten.
No.
Otten votes no. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 23, nays 44, excused 3.
House Bill 1222, having failed to receive an affirmative vote of the members elect, is hereby declared failed.
All right. This is
one down, 14 to go.
House Bill 1052, an act to place limitations on the enforcement of federal laws and orders related to firearms, accessories, and ammunition.
House Bill 1052, having received its second reading, is now for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Aylward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's an amendment that I'd like to move.
That's our boy.
Is that Amendment 1052J?
Correct.
It has been distributed?
Yes, sir.
And you're moving it at this time?
Correct.
Discussion on your motion.
Yeah, so with the bill, that you'll notice in section 1 there, there's a definition of terms of law-abiding citizen, and then material aid that play into the rest of the bill. Just going over the major parts here. And then section 6, you'll see that if this is violated, that amount of money goes to an individual rather than the state of South Dakota. And then the major part, section 8, you know, as you've noticed, we're on Amendment J with this, so there's been a lot of opinion that's went into this bill. A lot of the opponents have come out saying there's a lot of gray area. If a situation should arise, too much gray area up there for them to act on it. So again, the main part of this amendment, section 8 that we brought in, it's actually taking federal law, bringing it over into state law. So a lot of that confusion hopefully goes away. And talking to a number of the opponents, that has been the case. It's moved them from opposition to neutral, and they were satisfied with this amendment. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Further discussion on the motion to amend 1052 with 1052J. Further discussion. Hearing none, the question for the body is to amend 1052 with 1052J. Would anybody like to have the amendment reread? Hearing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are now on 1052 as amended. Representative Aylward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a proactive bill.
Wonder what kind of opposition.
The goal of this bill is to prevent any infringement from the federal government when it comes to our God-given rights to self-defense. Stated another way, the goal of this bill is to prevent the federal government from commandeering or coercing state employees to carry out unconstitutional acts in relation to firearms, ammunition, accessories, or components of firearms. The goal is to restore federalism. If this bill were signed into law, it would also help law enforcement say no to unconstitutional federal acts, and they would be supported by state law. I'll point you to the handout that I left on your desk today in regards to the anti-commandeering doctrine. And what this does, it points out 5 Supreme Court cases that just backs up this type of legislation. So to start out, I just wanted to pick out a couple of things when it comes to our protection to our right to self-defense. First, the South Dakota State Constitution. Article 6, Bill of Rights, Section 24 says, the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves in the state shall not be denied. Then if you go to the U.S. Constitution, which we're all familiar with this one, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. With this bill, I think we need to keep in mind just a few words out of each of those. So shall not be denied and shall not be infringed. So then I want to bring up the supremacy clause because a lot of the opponents tend to bring this up. Well, wouldn't this be against the supremacy clause? Which you can find in Article 6, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. The quick answer is no, and here's why. Notice in that clause the phrase, in pursuance thereof. This simply means that any and all federal laws need to line up with the powers that are given by the states to the federal government. This does not mean that the federal government rules the roost on everything and that they have a say on all areas of our lives. If that were the case, I'd make the argument, why are we here? Why not just have them run everything? If the federal government is supreme, why isn't the Second Amendment to the federal Constitution good enough? Why do we have a state protection there? As stated in McCullough v. Maryland, it's because these two governments operate fairly independent of each other, or they have a dual sovereignty. So then I want to back up to the phrase, laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof in the Supremacy Clause, and then look at the Second Amendment again, and then go to shall not be infringed. To me, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of wiggle room there.
Yeah, he is.
So here we are today. If we rewind to last year, the good speaker from up in north central South Dakota carried a bill, SB 100, that's very similar with the goal. But that bill was in regards to state of emergency situations, situations of disaster. So my question with that, and I fully supported that bill, a great bill, But why are we okay with having a gun sanctuary state in time of emergency and disaster, but not in the rest of our daily lives, day to day? As of today, we have 4 counties within South Dakota that have passed gun sanctuary resolution: Hughes County, Bennett County, Pennington County, and Fall River County. And I know there are other counties trying to do the same thing. There are also at least 10 states that have similar bills in place to what I have before you here today, all varying a little bit. But Alaska, Idaho, Kansas, Arkansas, Arizona, Montana, North Dakota, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Missouri. My question is, why aren't we on that list yet? So I'm just going to conclude with 2 quotes from Supreme Court cases, which you'll actually find on that handout. The first one being a while back from Judge Joseph Story. And he simply stated that the states cannot therefore be compelled to enforce federal acts, and it might well be deemed an unconstitutional exercise of the power of interpretation to insist that the states are bound to provide means to carry into effect the duties of the national government, nowhere delegated or entrusted to them by the Constitution. And then later on, Justice Scalia stated the federal government may neither issue directives requiring the states to address particular problems, nor command the states' officers or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program. Such commands are fundamentally incompatible with our constitutional system of dual sovereignty. And then just to end this up, Missouri, the state of Missouri, they passed a similar bill a year ago. They are going through some court cases right now, but it's playing well in their favor. And I'll just leave you with the...
You shouldn't have brought that up, dude.
I'll just leave you with a quote from their current Attorney General down there, Eric Schmidt. He backs this legislation full on. He says, after their disastrous arguments talking about the federal government in the Missouri Supreme Court last week, the Biden Department of Justice has now filed yet another partisan lawsuit that seeks to attack Missourians' Second Amendment rights. Make no mistake, the law is on our side in this case, and I intend to beat the Biden administration in court once again. Please vote green. Thank you.
Further remarks? Further remarks regarding House Bill 1052. Representative Barthel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I certainly commend the good representative from Lincoln County for bringing this bill forward. I too own plenty of guns, and believe me, I don't want the federal government to come take those away. But unfortunately, this proposed bill has got a lot of issues with it. Matter of fact, that's evidenced by the fact that we're now up to Amendment J. And unfortunately, in speaking with law enforcement across the state, they still are not happy with what this amendment does, and it doesn't, frankly, solve a lot of the issues that still exist within it.
Law enforcement,
just for example, the term chilling effect is used several times in Section 2 to describe various violations. So what is a chilling effect, and who determines that? I mean, if the officer makes the wrong call on that, whether or not it is or it isn't, he could face a $50,000 penalty, civil penalty.
This must be
and
a
his
Senator
department could
Huff.
face that as well, another $50,000. If there's 2 officers there, it's another $50,000.
That's probably their version of Senator
And
Huff.
who pays for that? Well, you know who pays for it would be you and me. We're paying for it with our taxes. So, and although this is an anti-federal gun law bill, it's ironic that Section 8 now adds some federal prohibitions to our state gun control laws. Many of the items listed in Section 8 aren't even in state law now, and now they are in state law, and now we make them a Class 6 felony.
Good. He should face that penalty.
I've talked with a lot of law enforcement around the state and around the country, and in various conversations, and we're very fortunate here in South Dakota. We've got a great cooperation with our federal authorities. Frankly, there's not that many federal authorities in our state. They probably need us a lot worse than we need them. But we work together on drug task forces, internet crimes against children, various search warrants and things like that. We work together on, and I would hate for something like this to stand in the way where, I don't know, if I were still police chief, I think I'd be pretty hesitant to send my officers out on some sort of a warrant or something of that nature when they've got federal people with them. And if they happen to run into somebody that's got a gun violation that isn't listed in here as an exception, Just the fact that they're there and on the scene with them, they could face a $50,000 penalty.
I knew he's an ex-cop.
I would hate for us to ruin that cooperative action that we've had over the many years. So I'm just going to leave you with one example. And believe me, there's plenty of them. But let's say you're a police officer and you're heading down the street and you're driving by Ellsworth Air Force Base. Here's a man with a AK-47 strapped over his shoulder. It's open carry, so he's not violating any laws. Now you see him start to crawl over the fence and he's going to head into the Air Force Base. There are no state laws against that. It's not an active shooter, as there's an exception in here for that. But you know he's probably up to no good. You can't even get involved in that. Matter of fact, I would argue to say that you can't even call it in and say, send somebody over from the feds to help with it. Because if you do, you're going to face a $50,000 penalty. Well, I know what most officers would do, they'll get involved. But then you and I are going to have to pay the 50 grand. So for that and many other examples that I could come up with, I'm afraid that the time isn't right for this bill. Again, I commend him for all the work that he put into it, but I think it needs even more work before we can get it to the final version. So I'd ask that you don't tie the hands of local law enforcement. Please vote red. Thank you.
For the remarks, Representative Weiss.
Got a question for the previous speaker.
State your question.
Is climbing the fence into Ellsworth Air Force Base a crime?
Representative Barthel, would you like to answer that question?
Not a state law crime.
Oh, they're bringing
Representative Weiss, anything further?
No, thank you.
For the remarks, Representative Lesmeister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question for the prime sponsor.
State your question.
I noticed that the tribes are not listed.
This is a joke.
Say why?
This is an absolute joke.
Representative Elward, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question.
Let's see what our boys got.
You know, I talked to another representative about this because the issue was raised, and I reached out to other states that have had similar language on the books, many of those states that I listed. And a lot of those do have Indian reservations in their states as well. None of them have had issues with it. So I guess that's why I didn't go down that road.
Representative Lesmeister, anything further?
Follow up, Mr. Speaker?
Granted.
Thank you. So just a question would be then, if a tribal officer who has no civil jurisdiction over a non-member pulls a car over and for whatever reason, and there's members and non-members in it, guns are involved, and needs to make an arrest possibly, and he calls a state or a BIA officer in to do that because he does not have jurisdiction over a non-member, are they in violation of this code and could be up to a $50,000 fine?
Representative Elward, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, sir. So a lot of these questions have been raised, had a lot in committee as well. So what it comes down to, if the individuals are breaking another law, whether it be federal or state, the state and the federal government can work together. But if it pertains to any of those things laid out, and it's simply, ammo related, firearm related, component related, and it's only those things, then yeah, it's a no-go. But if there are other crimes related to it, this law goes out of the way.
Representative Lesmeister, anything further?
Just a comment, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, go ahead with your comment.
Well, we're back to that gray area. Is there a crime committed? Are we guilty now before proven innocent, or are we innocent before proven guilty? Because that officer stand there, now he has to make a determination. Do I take the chance? Do I take the chance of arresting this individual and now being possibly in lawsuit for $50,000 along with my partner, because I had entered into agreement. A good representative previous to me spoke about these agreements and cross-deputizations that we have, whether it's with drug task force agencies, whether it's with just tribes, or other entities. So, there could be FBI officers involved in this, there could be BIA officers involved in this, county officers, they all cross-deputize and help on these tribal reservations as much as possible. So now called in, is he even going to show up? I had a few of our officers say they probably would not. they probably would not even agree to a lot of these cross-deputizations anymore, entering MOAs or MOEs, for the fact of now they could be proven guilty before they ever get the other person to the court of law. So now they got to make a choice. Now they're the judge and jury in the field all of a sudden on whether or not they should arrest this individual, because they could be hit with a $50,000 fine. And I don't think we should put our officers in that place. I don't think we should destroy some of the cross-deputization that's finally happening within this state to get things done. So don't make our officers judge and jury out in the field, because they got to make a determination whether or not they're going to be in a court case or not. I too own gun safes full of guns, and I don't want the federal government to come get them. But I don't think this is right. So with that, I'll oppose this bill, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Further remarks? Further remarks. Representative Aylward, would you like to close this out?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a feeling that some of those that are speaking against this bill probably own more firearms than I do, but I have a few, and I don't want the federal government to take my weapons either. And this, I guess it comes down to this for me. As I stated right away, it's a proactive bill. It's a protection in place.
Come on, man.
I think a lot of you would agree with me that over the years, and not just gun-related issues, but the federal government has grown too much. And I often wonder times where it's going to stop, if they're going to pump the brakes at all. So that's what I see this bill as, coming down to protect those rights that are laid out in our founding documents. And I do believe that law enforcement wants to do that. And that's why I was so willing to amend this bill, is because I do believe that a lot of those amendments provided protections and would get to our end goal for both sides. But I'll just leave you with that. Again, I see this as a proactive bill that would protect our God-given rights, and I do hope you vote green. Thank you.
Question for the body is final passage of 1052 as amended. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk, please unlock the voting machine. With the members proceed to vote.
Come on. Ayes and nays on this one. It's a voting machine.
Dennert votes aye. Representative Carr. Carr votes aye. Representative Ernie Otten.
I'm writing it down.
Aye.
Otten votes aye. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 28, nays 39, excused 3.
House Bill 1052, having failed to receive an affirmative vote of the members elect, is hereby declared failed.
Representative Kent Peterson moved that House Bill 1334 be laid on the table.
That motion having been made and seconded, it is non-debatable. All those in favor will vote aye for Representative Peterson's motion to put 1334 on the table. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk, please unlock the voting machine. Would the members proceed to vote?
All right, guys, I'm killing the audio on that. I think we pretty much... Man, can you believe that? Yo, anybody want to jump into the Discord? Let's get some comments on this.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this is an absolute dumpster fire in some regards. Now we'll see how that goes along, but
Man, I wish you could have done an interview with him, man. We could have told him what all the fucking talk. So I mean, basically, that dude got up and said that, and he really didn't have a comeback for nothing. He didn't bring up asset forfeiture. You know, that
No, he
immunity they
didn't bring
want.
up any comebacks in that, so it was. He had a couple, but he.
He should have brought that up too. I mean, then you'd had everybody thinking twice and saying, you know, it's not really about police can't do their job. It's about the police want to keep taking your assets and stuff.
Well,
You got to.
it's not just that, because a lot of those arguments, when they try to do it in front of the legislature like that, you're going to run into people that just really don't care. My argument, and that is 62 great. Got to take a little bit different route with it. Just trying to think about what would be a good angle to go with that. I mean, we've had these discussions before with when we were trying to do this here in Missouri. But they're going to attack that at every angle they can. There's no way around that.
Man, that sucked. That sucked.
You know, they're we need to have somebody in there that can, or at least, I don't know if it's probably gonna go to the question is, does that completely kill it if it dies in the house?
I would say so. And I don't think they can. I think they're past the deadline for introducing any more bills.
I know the South Dakota legislature is going to work different than it did Missouri, but I don't know how different, whether it actually completely kills it or if they can, I don't know.
That's just it. I can't get a hold of. I wish I could have talked to that dude.
Same.
Or, you know, because not only that, we could ask him if there's, because we got people here who are, you know, they're chomping at the bit to send phone calls or emails. See, if we could have talked to him, we could have told him what, you know, what all we went through and the questions we had and things we had to deal with. And we could add people sending emails and stuff. I mean, you don't want to send your phone number if you're out of state, because then they say you're not a stater, but nobody tracks emails. You can send emails saying, hey, you know, we want this passed or something. We could add a chance to put a little more pressure on everybody. But
yeah, definitely could have.
I don't know, man. I think the committee he was in probably didn't get much opposition, you know, and they probably didn't discuss much.
Yeah, the other thing too is
there's a lot of things he could have brought up, man. I think that when that dude was, when I kept saying, I bet this dude's a cop, you know, as he said, yeah, when I was police chief.
Yeah. Yep. His argument being, oh, well, what if someone jumps into the Air Force base? It's
the Air
well,
Force
if someone
base,
is, you think if he, first off, if he makes it over the damn razor wire, I mean, if he makes it over that, and then you have the fact that they've got fucking cameras everywhere. You jump a base like that, you're gonna get shot. I mean, that's just how that works.
And the MPs will take over.
This is why I hate these arguments in the legislatures. They're absolute garbage. But hey, people think it's
Serene Acuity. Thanks for coming on here. Man, I don't know. Say that I'm bummed now, man. Man. He just didn't have nothing to come back with, man. As soon as that dude stepped up and started talking, I mean, he just sounded like, you know what I'm saying? He was kind of. He was backpedaling, but he wasn't bringing his case up very strong. Like
no,
I said,
he really wasn't. He wasn't bringing that strong at all.
I would have said, hey, man, look, you got to look at asset forfeitures. It's not just these cops can't do their job. And because, see, the thing, like, when I called those officers, you know, down in the boot heel, they said they could still do their job. There's the Dexter police chief and the sheriff in Butler County. They're like, yeah, we can still do our job. Or whatever. I mean,
these little fucking tyrants and their police unions have their reasons behind trying to block all this.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But see, we could have turned him on to all that, and and see if they had some kind of grassroots or something, they could have been calling, sheriffs and police chiefs and stuff and getting there, asking if they supported that. That's why I wish we could have talked to this guy. I mean, it's going to be shot down this year, but if he's still really serious about getting SAPA passed, now's their time to start organizing and, start checking into those things.
They have 545 by 39 here at Academy.
They got what?
5.45 by 39. That shit is, let me look at the case and see where cases came out of.
Yeah, he could have raised up a lot of points on that. I mean, I'm not trying to get beat down on the guy or anything, but like I said.
Oh no, the guy needs to figure out that he could have raised a whole lot more points. I think he choked up there.
That or he just wasn't ready for it. Like I said, he might have just been pushing this bill himself, managed to get it through the. Well, see, I'd also like to know what went down when they got it out of the judiciary, because that's when they put a couple of amendments in there. But
yeah.
I don't know. He could have brought up a lot of stuff, because you got to bring up asset forfeiture and all that when they start talking like that, and then that way you say, is it really they can't do their job, or is it certain parts of their job they want to do that really isn't constitutional? I mean,
I'm gonna say the latter of the two on that.
That's what I'm saying. But you gotta go hard at those guys, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you really do.
Because that dude's he brought it on, man. You gotta bring it back. I mean, they don't call it adversarial for nothing. I mean, you're basically in a battle up there. I was like, when I was testifying that committee and they let me start talking, dude, I brought it on. When Bratton started talking to me and I didn't back down from that dude. I started bringing all kinds. I didn't care if he got mad or not. It is what it is, man. When you're up there doing that thing, it's a battle. There's a lot of points you could have brought up. Like I said, that's too bad. I wish we could have talked. It could have, just going back to a lot of stuff we've been through on, truth, money, and freedom, and what we got now.
Mm-hmm.
We could have picked up a lot of stuff and learned a lot from that. But, hey, it is what it is, man. But, like I said, if they're really serious about it and they want to do it, now they got plenty of time to start setting up. Let's look what we got here in the chat. Okay, Serena Cutie, I would love to get involved. I'm ready to retire. I'm kid-free and pissed off. I know I have a calling. Are you here in Missouri, Serena, or are you from another state?
They still, I'm over here at Academy right now, and they've got, looking at their ammo prices, they're still pretty rough.
Is that the one in Lee Summit, or just north of Lee Summit?
Oh, I'm over in Belton.
Belton? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And see, I'm wondering why they went with that penalty instead of allowing a citizen to sue for $50,000.
Yeah. I don't know, but they have.
I wish I could interview the guy, but man, I tried calling, couldn't get through. I sent emails, couldn't get through. Michaela couldn't get a hold of the guy.
Yeah, and that's with the backing of the YAL group up there too. Couldn't get a hold.
Man,
that's rough.
I didn't get the last. I just knew they lost. I can't even remember what the numbers are now. We got questions.
Maybe you can get a hold of it between now and next session.
Yeah, we got. Can they reintroduce? Serena Cutie, we actually don't know. Oh, she's from New Jersey. So I got passion. I'm moving to Oklahoma, Missouri in May. Which one, Oklahoma or Missouri?
I don't know.
I was asking her. She's writing in chat. I keep saying her, man. Might be. My bad. Oh, it says Serene. I think it's Serene. Awesome. We'll be glad to have you. Man, well, we're breaking out the Jaeger moms today.
That's one way to go about it. 20, 40, 60, 80.
Hey, what were those amendments? I really didn't get a chance to catch that he just added on today. See,
I would actually have to look at the House journals on that to find out exactly what those amendments were.
Probably not going to get that for at least a couple of days.
Well, might be worth checking back in there to see exactly how that went. They've got to be done with the vote by now.
All right.
Even if it just made it pass by one. Because they have
Well, I already had the vote.
pretty
It
solid.
failed. You want me to turn the volume back on?
Yeah, I didn't hear that part of it.
Marijuana for South Dakotans. And I don't buy the story that our vote isn't going to be considered by the voters. Of course it will. And some will be happy with the vote and some won't be happy with the vote, just like on any issue. You know, that's for each of us to consider. My concern, frankly, is the rapidness of the way this bill came, for me at least. I mean, I hardly knew it was in the process, and maybe that's on me. But I did spend the afternoon this weekend, Saturday afternoon, studying the bill. I read it and reread it and reread it, and I listened to testimony.
I wonder if this one's going to pass.
So I want to just share with you some of the things I read from the bill, because frankly, whether you support it, support the concept or don't support the concept, I don't think this bill is ready for prime time.
I kind of want to get.
I read many sections that created just questions in my mind, and I'd like to share some.
Actually, this bill that's up now is one that I guess legalizes the recreational use of marijuana.
Oh.
Let's see
how that one goes.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Go ahead.
I have my doubts with it, but.
Yeah, really.
Considering.
They hate their guns that much. I wonder if that same ex-police chief will step up and say something about that. All right, I'm going to turn the video volume back on, the sound, whatever.
Marijuana, the bill doesn't address it. Well, what's the analogy with alcohol? You can't have open containers in your car. Your passenger can't be drinking alcohol. Well, we don't know that about marijuana. It doesn't say. Section 14, an employer may prohibit an employee from ingesting cannabis on the work site
what
during
news on
work
SAPA?
hours.
What do we got going on here in South Dakota?
After work hours, does the employer not have anything to say about it? The bill is silent about that.
Son of a gun.
Hang on, let me kill the
section 19 is the section that.
We're going to check back on this bill because it's one to legalize marijuana. We're going to see if it gets shot down like the guns. But, yeah, basically what happened is had somebody that came up and talked, and he was an police chief. And I don't know, man, Representative Aylward just, to me, didn't seem like he really had a good comeback. I mean,
he just, I think he choked up and he just kind of gave in. It was.
I wouldn't say choked. I just don't think he was really
prepared for it.
Yeah, because I mean, we all knew they'd bring the heat. They probably.
It really wasn't even much. It wasn't even really much heat either. It was like he just talked about how, oh well, if this happens and this happens, the most arbitrary, he used the most worthless argument possible too, like a guy with an AK walking down the street and he goes to jump into an Air Force base.
But see,
like
that's what
that has got to be the worst argument you could
Well,
use.
Yep, but also I got to point this out, gang, and I know it's going to be an unpopular view, but they just didn't have the grassroots to push it through. If you got thousands of people making phone calls, hey, we want SAPA, they're not going to argue like that because they know everyone will be watching them, and it'll cost them their next election.
Well, here, I'll tell you what, let me give you, since you just got back, let me give you a kind of rundown of what we discussed. First of all, as far as, they talk about that, when that guy came up and started talking, I knew he was ex-cop, and then he said he was an ex-police chief, and he kept saying, well, these guys ain't going to be able to make a decision in the field. And me and Caleb was discussing, I was telling Caleb, I was like, hey, man, the representative should have came back and mentioned things like asset forfeiture, acquired immunity, and bring up fact, hey, the police are doing their jobs everywhere else. I mean, is it really about that, or is it about some other things that they're going to lose, like asset? Because you bring up stuff like that, more liberty-minded things, now it kind of knocks that dude back a little bit. And also, I was telling Caleb, I said, if we could have talked to this guy before this came up, if we could have got a hold of him, did an interview or something, we could have brought up to him all the stuff we had to go through. And plus, like I was telling Caleb, I was talking to the sheriffs and the police chiefs and stuff down there in the boot heel. They were saying, "Oh, we can still do the job." They just wanted the penalty taken out because they want their asset forfeiture and all that. See, if we could have been telling him about that, informing him, and he could have watched some of the videos and stuff, I think he would have been able to get up there and make a stronger case.
Yeah.
We took 8 years to get it done in Missouri. We had to learn everything the hard way the first time around. And so maybe that's the way it's going to be for other states. But so hang on. Was there an accompanying Senate bill?
No, just a House bill.
Oh, there was not.
No.
Okay.
That's
all right.
Thinking
so it's okay. So it's dead in South Dakota for this year. Is that correct?
Looks like it. Nah, like I said,
Okay.
I don't know their laws. I don't know if they can do something else. Or if I don't know where their filing deadline is, if it's already passed, or what the deal is.
Okay.
But yeah, right now it's looking like it's pretty dead. Oh man, yeah, and that's another thing. I wish we could talk to that guy because we got people here that were ready to go make phone calls or send emails and stuff. We could have helped, kind of paved the way for him. That's what. Yeah, I could never get a hold of the dude. I tried calling. Tried emails. Just couldn't do it. I mean, I don't know how much it would help. I mean, I don't know how much more it would have helped, but all that advice to make a difference. Like I said, we already been through a lot of all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, if he ends up watching this, we're not. Don't take it the wrong way or not. I mean, but. It's just, we work so hard to get SAPA and we want to see it everywhere else. It's like, man, there's so much we could have, so much information we could have given you and stuff like that. But, yeah, they're definitely got to work it. See, I don't know, because I know Michaela's group, she just started it, right?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Yeah, so, they really ain't got a groundswell yet. But thing is, it's not, the world's not going to end in 1 year, no matter what. What it may look like.
Well,
they got time to. They got time.
You might be wrong about that one.
Yeah.
You might be wrong about that one.
I've been hearing that since the '90s, dude. When the day comes, the day comes, but you still fight like it's not. If you just say, "Well, it's coming, I quit," then guess what? It's coming because you quit.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying, but I am saying that it wouldn't surprise. I don't see the dollar lasting outside of this year, so.
Yeah, I've been hearing that for a few years too.
Well.
All I know is, man, damn. Oh, this is like the one, man. They're starting to get bogged down there in Iowa. I think the House bill over there timed out. I'm not sure. The Senate bill got out of committee, so I don't think there's really a time limit to get on the floor over there. I have to call, go talk to Senator Nunn a little more. Damn. Yeah, he just man, he didn't put his arguments out there that he should have.
Right. You can't sit there and tell me that you're a gun owner and you would be okay with the cops cops teaming up with the feds to come and confiscate your firearms. You can't tell me you're going to be okay with that.
Yeah. And plus, if you brought up asset forfeiture and stuff like that, then it says it really the job they can't do the job, or is it certain other parts that they want to be able to do? And I guarantee you, people start hearing asset forfeiture and acquired immunity and things like that. Most people are.
Well, you'd have to go back and look and see how their civil asset forfeiture works, like compared to ours, because maybe they don't get that much. They get to keep that much money like they do here in Missouri. So
no, that's the thing. You don't. That's the thing is the federal asset forfeiture program and the profitable sharing program. It's across the board, all states.
So everybody, all the local gets 80 and the feds get 20.
It depends on what thing it is. Some things it's 80-20, some things it's 75-25.
Okay, yeah.
But overall, it's not based state for state. It is based on what people actually do. Oh God, what's the word I'm looking for?
The feds levy the percentages.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that if he would have been a little more prepared, like you're already on Amendment J, like there's obviously, like you're already trying to conform to what people were wanting to do anyway. Like, well, we didn't have any amendments in ours, so. Like I say, I haven't actually read the bill, so I don't really know what's in there. Because I'm pretty sure you could have wrote it the same as ours and just put your statutes or whatever in for your state, and you should be fine.
The main difference between our penalty mechanism and theirs is with the Missouri, the injured party gets to file a lawsuit and they have the letter of the law behind them, and if they win, they get the money. Now theirs is different. Theirs is just a penalty, and it would go to the state. But even though while the money may go to different parties, it still comes out of the coffers of the law enforcement agency that's at the wrong. So it still would have had that. Still would have had the same damage. He didn't give his argument. He just didn't put up a compelling argument. Man. He just kind of he let that dude hit him. That dude hit him, and he just didn't hit back.
Here's the thing about that too, and that's their budgets. Their budgets renew annually. They're not, somewhere. Oh well, it's automatically out of the taxpayer dollar. Well, the reality is that that argument is also complete bullshit, and it's because they're when you get it out of a police budget like that, they just can't just take more of that. That means they have to do less that year.
Well, I mean that's the whole point of having that though, because when you hit them like that, they can't take that many hits. Theirs just different as to where the money goes. It just goes to the state, but it's still coming out of that department. They're still taking a hit. It just gets sent to the state. Whereas in Missouri, the citizen files a lawsuit, and if he wins, he gets it.
Right. Well, I'm sure like in other states too, like here in Missouri, where they have the Missouri Sheriff's Association and all those. So they're getting money from that too. So like in the end, they're really not going to be hurting unless they do it a whole bunch. Get caught doing it a whole bunch.
Well, I've got a question for you, Casey, Rich.
Okay.
Our bill that became law was per incident, per person. So if you had, let's just say, for instance, 2 sheriff's deputies taking 3 guns, 2 times 3,
$300,000.
we got 6. Yeah. So is that the way their bill was written too?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up
No.
right here.
I do know as much as that one was not written in that way. So it actually has even less impact, but they still wouldn't let it pass.
Here's what it says. Let me read it. Any political subdivision or law enforcement agency that employs a law enforcement officer who knowingly violates this act is liable, that's the agency, for any injury caused to a person and is subject to imposition by a court of a civil penalty, not the citizen suing, but basically a fine in the amount of $50,000 per violation. We use per incident.
Per violation.
Per violation.
Yep. Okay.
That's
but still, the money goes to the
I've
state.
got it up here on the YouTube screen, section 5.
So the state gets compensated when someone loses their first or their Second Amendment rights.
It
That's
goes in the
interesting.
state coffer, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Citizen.
Oh, it gets sucked out of their budget still. It gets sucked out of their annual budget.
Yeah, but it don't mean
So
they
that does
couldn't
still
get
hit
it back.
them.
They would.
Yeah, but the state can re-grant it back to the law enforcement agency.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's true.
I know
That
that's
is
why I
true.
didn't like it, but it doesn't necessarily mean they would. I mean, it would still be a hit. That's not something you want to lose $50,000 and hope you get it back. Because
Right.
if those guys were doing it and it was getting kicked back, and the right people got wind of it, there'd be a lot of trouble. I mean, I still like our version better, but that still has a stiff penalty. That's why that ex-cop was up there talking. That's why they didn't want it.
Well, even still, out of the ones that are being proposed now, I still don't think they're as good as ours.
No.
No.
Well, the one in Iowa, on Senator Nunn's, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Now,
But
now Wyoming, the two that were like ours or most like ours with the $50,000 penalty, those did not get out of committee, or they failed to reach committee or something. The third one that made it out of committee, it's just the officer that does the violation, not even the department. He can get up to a year in jail or up to a $2,000 fine. But that's up to it's basically it's classified as a misdemeanor, and that's the maximum penalty, up to 1 year in jail or $2,000 fine or both. That don't mean he's going to get the max. Probably have to be something pretty egregious to do that. But that's the only one that got into a committee. Now the ones that didn't make committee, I don't know how that works up there in Wyoming. Like I said, I've been trying to get a hold of people. It's like fuck, no one wants to talk, But yeah, and as far as how this works here, I can't even find the phone number for the House clerk. It's weird.
Yeah.
So I was going to call them and find out what the options would be or something. And this guy, I can't get a hold of him, so I don't know.
Hey, while I got you guys on here, does anybody know anything about that? Our Senate Bill 9. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Senate Bill 895, where it requires all transfers to go through an FFL. It says that it went to Senate General Laws Committee.
Oh, that's the one where
I have not followed that.
Yeah, I haven't. Our Senate isn't the place we're going to stop that kind of stuff. If it makes it, it's going to be the House that's going to be the hard line for that shit here, because they can't get that through the House. They can't get a simple majority on any of that.
I don't know if they get that through the Senate either. You guys got, guys like Moon,
that kind of thing. Yeah, they'd have a hard time.
Eigel and even Bratton. I don't think they would go for that shit.
So also is it true too that Schatz says that he's not going to take any bills from conservatives until he gets his gas tax? Have you heard that?
I have not heard that, but he's already got his gas tax, so he got the gas tax through last year. What, does he want to raise it again?
Well, I don't know. I know that there's a bill in there to
There's one that looks to eliminate that gas tax.
There we go. Maybe that's what they're talking about then.
Maybe he doesn't want that gone. Maybe just a little bit. Don't want to make him look bad. Yeah, douchebag needs to look bad.
Yeah, man, that sucked. Jeez.
I say them guys, they got a little work because if it really took us 8 or 9 years to get ours through, I mean, then this is probably what the first time they try to get theirs through. So they got a little work to do.
But you know what?
Yep.
Like I said, I mean, man, it's just way there's some way we could talk to this dude and turn him on some information.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, like I said, I could even get a hold of him. I just wanted to do an interview or talk to him, find out, what all was going down with it, how they're going about it.
So is that the only bill that they have that's like that?
Yep, that's it. That was it.
Yeah. Wow, man, if I was those citizens, man, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
But on the same token, though, we got a lot of that stuff that goes on too, where they go through and turn something down too, and then everybody's like, "Oh, okay, well maybe we'll just try again next session or whatever," instead of voicing their opinion, I guess.
I don't know. Man, pissed me off so bad. that one looked like the one that had the best shot too. Now Iowa, like I said, the House bill, I think it got it timed out, but I think there's still other options for it. And the Senate bill, it's just like, they're all getting all wound up over the. Well, see what it is what Senator Nunn was telling me. I hate saying on here because I don't want. He told me a while back, and I don't want to get anything wrong, but basically, everybody up there is kind of waiting on the ruling to come down from our Missouri Supreme Court before they want to go through with it. So that's why it's kind of languishing at the moment. But I think Senator Nunn, he really wants to push it forward. But, if he's still got to get votes from the rest of the Senate, so if they're not in a hurry for it or they don't want to do it, then he's kind of a rock and a hard place.
They need a strong grassroots. They need thousands of phone calls.
Hey,
Right.
I'm trying to get an interview with the dude, man. Trying to help hook him up. Like I said, we got people that would love to call up there.
Are you still live streaming?
Yeah, we're still live streaming, man.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I thought when you said that you was going to end that session or whatever, I thought that's why I got into talking about our stuff. I didn't know that. I didn't know we still.
Oh, we did. I forgot about the ruling on the marijuana thing. Let's see if that's still going on. I want to see if they got.
I mean, it is SAPA Central, so we're talking about SAPA in all states. So
yeah,
right.
Fauci said, when people are vaccinated, they can feel safe that they are not going to get infected.
It.
Well, I can talk to people in this room.
Can you see any results
that's not
of it?
True. And then in July of 2021, President Biden, you're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Let me go do a check on the bill.
If you're vaccinated, you're not going to be hospitalized, etc. And that's just not been proven true too many times.
Kill that.
I scored.
Hang on, let me do another one. Come on.
I need to stick this somewhere. I gotta check my bank account. Yeah, I just bought ammo. Gotta check my bank account. That's bad.
I don't know nothing about editing. I probably should edit those expletives out of that I had. Come on. What is... All right. Come on. Get going. I'm probably not going to hear... There ain't going to be no data yet. Yeah, we missed it. We'll probably just have to wait a day or two before they put up the results.
Yeah, probably best to end the live stream here then.
What's that?
Yep.
Probably best to end the live stream now.
All right, hey guys, we're gonna end the live stream. Man, feel free to come into the chat over here in Discord. And if any of you don't have, hey, is there any way I can post something to bring them over to Discord? Because I think we had a couple of new people there.
Yeah, I'm driving right now, but Caleb, are you driving?
I am in my vehicle right now.
Okay, gotcha. All right, if you can do this in the Discord in the upper left-hand side, there's an option to click a down menu and then invite to server.
Hang on a minute. Where's it at again?
Upper left-hand side of Discord. There's like a box there. There's a bar or something there that you can click, and it gives you a down. It gives you a menu. It's a drop-down menu.
I'm looking for it. Upper left-hand corner, huh?
Yep.
Man, I don't see nothing up here. Wait a minute. Let me get out of here real quick. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Upper left hand where it says friends or find or start a conversation.
Just underneath that, there. God darn it, man! I don't remember what it's called, and I'm driving. I can't look at a screen right now.
Okay.
Damn it. But you could the invites to Discord are on all of my videos, so you just bring up one of my videos and just copy and paste.
There you go, folks. You heard the man. Get back in here.
So that would be the Missouri Freedom Initiative on YouTube.
What the heck? Yeah, just look up Missouri Freedom Initiative on YouTube and you can jump in here into the chat. You want to do that. All right, guys, thanks for coming on. Sorry we couldn't get that passed. Okay. All right, I'm going to end it right now. Later, everybody.
Okay. See ya.